Hello everyone and welcome to Who Wore It Better, the weekly segment in which I review Raw and Smackdown back to back and try and figure out which show won for the week. And if you see a faded sign on the side of the road that says 15 miles to the Glasgow, sorry I had to say it that way one more time. Just going to start out by saying, honestly, I'm not going to say too much about Raw this week because honestly, there wasn't much worth talking about. You know, I never want to be one of those people who just comes on and says, everything sucked, everything was terrible, nothing was good. I don't ever believe that. I always try and look for the good in everything. Even if Raw has a bad week, I always try to find the bright spots in them. And there were just a couple. There's one, Noam Dar. There, I said, Noam Dar showing up in Scotland in a match was a pretty cool debut for him in his home country. You know, that was awesome. The Noam Dar thing was great. The whole tag team promo off was funny for a minute, and then like it went 100 minutes too long, you know, but it was just one of those things where it's like I couldn't find very many redeeming things about Raw this week. Like I said, Noam Dar debuting on Raw in Scotland was an amazing moment. The big pyro, the hero's welcome was great. He teamed with Brian Kendrick against Sin Cara, who's still undefeated in backstage fights, and along with Rich Swann as Sin Cara's tag team partner. The crowd was just really dead for a lot of the match. Anything that didn't have to do with Noam Dar, they just didn't pop for. Like anything that Noam Dar didn't do on the offensive. Sin Cara did this amazing swanton from the inside of the ring onto the floor onto Noam Dar, and the crowd didn't give a shit. I'm like, that's amazing. That was like a sick looking bump. So I thought that was crazy. This didn't pop for it at all. Swann wins the surprise roll up. 2 wins now against Brian Kendrick, and then Noam Dar gets the last laugh on Kendrick when he was getting berated by his partner at the end of that match. So yeah, good look for Noam Dar. A lot of very drawn-out promo stuff throughout the whole show. We had a very long promo segment in the opener with the singles, the men's singles stuff for Survivor Series. Very long, drawn-out tag team promo segment. And here we had a very long, drawn-out women's segment. And they all followed the same basic principle. It was like there's the captain, and then there's the faces, then there's the heel who doesn't want to go by the rules of the other people. It was like in the opener it was Braun Strowman, then in the tag team stuff it's the club, Anderson and Gallows against everyone else, and this one's Nia Jax against everyone else. Like, I'm just gonna do what I do. It's like these writers can't come up with anything more original. And they did the same thing on SmackDown with Baron Corbin. It was ludicrous. The one bright spot to this whole segment, and one of the few bright spots of the whole doing was Bayley kind of doing the opposite of what I railed against last week, and finally having some confidence, having some volume and bass in her voice, and just like standing up for herself. People got mad last week when I said that I thought Bayley might be ruined on Raw. She's like, oh, they were saying, oh, she's supposed to lose matches. She's an underdog. Well, the wins and losses was never the point I was trying to make. That was never the point. My point was everything else about it. Wins and losses I know don't really matter, especially for her character. It's an issue of her confidence and the character she portrays. And for the last few weeks on Raw, up until on Monday, she just seemed as kind of like, oh, awkward, gee, oh, shucks. I know that's her shtick, and it worked at NXT. But I think when Charlotte said on the promo last week, when are you going to realize it's not NXT anymore, that to me was just like the biggest possible, and I hate to use the word burial all the time, but like that's kind of what it was. Like they really exposed her, and I think confidence is a huge thing. If you don't have confidence in your promos, then why do people care? Why should people buy a ticket to see you? I think you can be awkward and still be confident. Look at me, I'm awkward as shit, but I still think that I'm pretty confident when I'm doing this show. So why doesn't Bayley do that? Now, the thing is, on NXT, when she was starting out, she was doing the same thing, but she eventually evolved. By the time she was the women's champion, she was great. She was confident. She had that inner strength and stuff, and that worked. But now on the main roster, she went back to square one. And I don't know if that was a call by Triple H or Vince McMahon or whatever, but that's just kind of how it's been portrayed, and she has suffered as a result. And like I said, the whole awkward aw shucks thing, that's great with a niche audience. That's great with, you know, the internet fans and the NXT fans. That's what, you know, that works great with that one because there's a connection there. But on the main roster, when the audience is more diverse, you need to have confidence when you're out there. And if you don't, then you sink. And that's kind of what my problem was with Bayley the last couple of weeks were. It wasn't the wins and the losses. It was the confidence. And it was, you know, like I said, if you watch the pre-show of Hell in a Cell, if you watch the Raw talk afterward, if you listen to the promo she had the next night on Raw, it was just like, man, like what are they doing wrong with this character? And that was my big problem with Bayley. But they corrected that a little bit on Monday when she finally had some fire and gumption. Maybe she only gets that confidence in Scotland. I don't know, in the UK, overseas. Sami Zayn taking on Rusev, with the winner fighting Dolph Ziggler at Survivor Series for the Intercontinental Championship. Not much to say about the match. I did like the spot at the end, the haluva kick onto Rusev when he was at the top rope, so he fell from the top. That was a pretty cool spot. Sami Zayn wins and goes on to fight Ziggler at Survivor Series, which I think is going to be a really cool match. And then they announced on SmackDown on Tuesday that in response, Raw is going to do a Cruiserweight Championship match with TJ Perkins and Kalisto, which again, I'm really excited about because I think Kalisto all along should have been part of the Cruiserweight division. Although I think with both matches, you kind of just know going in that the titles aren't going to change hands for either of them, because especially with Raw, because the Cruiserweights are Raw exclusive, so why would that championship move to SmackDown? Just doesn't make any sense. So it's unfortunate that, they're that obvious, but hopefully the matches themselves will still be entertaining to watch. The Fatal 5-Way main event with Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Braun Strowman, Chris Jericho, and Kevin Owens. Every man for himself. I loved how early in the match there was like two different things going on. In the foreground, you had this like big stare down between Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman, and in the background, you had Seth Rollins bouncing back from side to side, fighting Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho by himself, and that part was hilarious. And what was even funnier was the fact that the stare down with Strowman and Roman got no response, no reaction. Like they were trying to go for something big there and they totally flopped with it. But the match was okay. I thought that, Strowman going through the table was a cool spot. It was funny. It's like, I think this is the most they've ever done with Strowman for one show throughout. I mean, he talked a lot. He talked in at least two or three different segments, and he was a vital part of this match. I don't know if this is them like grooming Strowman for something big down the line. I don't know if they see him as a big player in the future. I mean, the way they've been building up all the squash matches is one thing, but now he's in this like high profile thing with these 4 other established proven guys. So I don't know if this is kind of like a training session or something more, or if it's going to be forgotten in a couple of weeks after Survivor Series or what. But I thought it was a good look for Braun Strowman as well. The finish happens when Rollins gives the pedigree to Chris Jericho. Roman Reigns gives a Superman punch to Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens falls onto Jericho and wins the match via pinfall there. So I don't know. Like I said last week, it seemed they were pumping the brakes on the possible breakup between Kevin and Chris. Does this finish kind of play into that? Are they going to build more of that again? Or is it just kind of another one-off thing? I don't know. But anyway, very interesting end to the show. But overall, man, it was hard to find those few positive things about the show. SmackDown Live starts things off by introducing Todd Phillips as the latest part of the announcing team on SmackDown. 4 freaking people on SmackDown's commentary team. You got Todd Phillips, Mauro Ranallo, JBL, and David Otunga. Do we need 4 people on that thing? Can we lose one of them? Can we lose Otunga? Can we lose JBL? Can we lose them both? I mean, it's too much for me. The biggest takeaway from this opening segment, besides them determining what the final match of the night was going to be, they also announced that James Ellsworth is going to be the team mascot Survivor Series. I feel like by adding these little secondary characters throughout the Survivor Series matches, like they're already going to be jam-packed with people to begin with, and now they're going to just overbook it, because you got Ellsworth as a mascot now. He's probably going to be involved in the finish somehow. On the women's side, you got Natalya as a coach, you got Dana as an alternate. I think the only reason that they haven't added people into the tag team one as some secondary characters, because there are already 20 people in it, so I don't know who else you're going to get. But yeah, I just feel like with these extra people, they're trying to accomplish a lot. They're trying to just get everyone in on the show as much as they can, but at the same time, I think it's just going to be way too busy. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Breezango versus the Vaudevillains. Hey, good to see Breezango again on TV in a Survivor Series qualifying match. Short and sweet match where they win, and they are the final team on Team SmackDown for the tag team match. So good on Breezango. Baron Corbin taking on Kalisto in a match that never really got started because Corbin was just beating up Kalisto before the bell rang, and then they did this spot where Corbin slips and falls and lands on his knee really awkwardly, and then Kalisto keeps attacking the leg. The match never really gets anywhere. Baron Corbin is, I guess, kayfabe injured. I don't know why they decided to pull him off the show, because it was revealed at the end of the night, so he was taken off Survivor Series team, and in his place is going to be Shane McMahon. That makes me mad on a couple of levels. One, there's other full-time wrestlers who probably could use that spot. I mean, give it to The Miz. Give it to Apollo Crews, even though he just lost to Kurt Hawkins. Give it to Kurt Hawkins. It's on the kayfabe level, I get why Daniel Bryan would not put The Miz in that match, even though I think he's the most qualified, just because he doesn't respect The Miz. He's not a fighter. Shane, I guess, will have make SmackDown have the best chance to win. I don't know. I maybe it's just me. I think with Shane, it was the same thing I felt with WrestleMania. Really? Shane McMahon in 2016? Okay. And like since a few months ago after SummerSlam, they seem to be planting the seeds for a Shane Brock face-off sometime in the future. Like, I hope that they don't do that, and hope they don't progress that somehow in the Survivor Series match or in the Brock Goldberg match. Like, I'm just not looking forward to that. Either this match is going 60 minutes or the term main event means nothing anymore. It's the Women's Championship match as Becky Lynch finally defends against Alexa Bliss. This was a fun match to watch. It was cool to see a competitive women's match that wasn't between Sasha Banks and Charlotte for a change in WWE. Yeah, I think there was a couple of little botches here and there. The tornado DDT that Bliss tried to do, where she just landed on her feet, then the DDT, to me that didn't seem the cleanest thing in the world. The match did end in controversy when Bliss had her foot on the ropes, but still tapped out to disarm her. But yeah, it was kind of a meh finish to an otherwise really fun match to watch. These two really just went to town on each other with the forearms. Those looked pretty stiff to me. But yeah, I think the fact that they ended it that way with the controversial finish, to me, it seems like, oh, well, this is going to give more excuse or more reason for these two to fight again down the line at some future date. And I think, based on what we've seen from their very, very first encounter on the beginning of SmackDown as a separate brand and what we've seen from Tuesday night, I think that the next match will hopefully be even better than those. Time now for the real main event of the night as the Wyatt family, which now includes Randy Orton, taking on Dean Ambrose, Kane, who replaced Baron Corbin, and James Ellsworth in six-man tag team action. Of course, the strategy was they told James Ellsworth, don't tag in, don't tag in. The match goes on. Kane and Harper fight to the back. Randy Orton's incapacitated. Dean Ambrose is out. Ellsworth tags himself in and is immediately destroyed by Bray Wyatt, and that was it. I think the thing with James Ellsworth, I've been saying before, he's at the risk of being overexposed. I think we've kind of reached peak Ellsworth now. My problem with Ellsworth is if this storyline with him happened on the Intercontinental title level or just a regular mid-card level, like just this plucky jobber who's getting this chance, like I'd be more okay with it. But the fact that he's so involved intrinsically with like the world title picture and the main event scene, to me just seems like a little forced. Like, and especially in the case of AJ Styles, like I said, again, if this was a mid-card thing or a mid-card title thing, it'd be okay. But for considering this is the first of what could be several world championship reigns for AJ Styles, for him to have to do this stuff where he's being embarrassed at the hands of James Ellsworth, to me, it's not a good look for AJ Styles. Like, could you ever imagine Steve Austin as champion dealing with stuff like this? Could you imagine Triple H as champion dealing with stuff like this? You just don't see that. And, I'm not saying AJ Styles is being buried. Absolutely not, because he's the champion. But I just think it's just a different way of looking at it. It's like if you have James Ellsworth there, like it just kind of like puts a little, kind of a smudge almost on AJ Styles' time as world champion. And again, the story of James Ellsworth is very inspiring. It's very cool to see a guy who doesn't have that prototypical WWE look getting this TV time and having this t-shirt and having an entrance and everything. It's very cool. It's a very inspiring story. I just think it's in the wrong spot on the card. Time now to decide who wore it better. You already know from what I said at the very beginning, SmackDown wins this week, folks. Here's the thing. Raw was not the show that went up against the election. SmackDown could have easily just said, you know what, we're going to get smashed in the ratings no matter what, do the election coverage. We're just going to put on a clip show and no one's going to tell the difference. But no, they actually put on a good, competent show with good storyline progression and some fun matches. Meanwhile, on Raw, the flagship show, it was just promo after promo after promo. Promos going way too long. Promos within promos. It was madness. Like I said, the Noam Dar debut, the never-ending Bayley chants were pretty cool. Bayley showing some confidence on the mic were cool. The hype promos between, Brock Lesnar and Goldberg, those are all right. I thought the Goldberg one I felt like 10 minutes long watching that Goldberg package. But yeah, I just think, oh man, that show was really hard to get through. And I skipped all the commercials. I DVR'd it and I fast forwarded it, and it still felt like a 3 to 4 hour show. In the 12 or 13 weeks I've been doing this segment, this was honestly the worst Raw I have seen since I started doing this segment. And thank God this wasn't the Go Home show, because this would have rivaled that of the Go Home before WrestleMania 31, where it ends with the Lesnar Reigns tug of war over the belt. It would have been that bad. This was not a good show to watch. And I don't know if it was the jet lag or what, but if you're going to put on this show in this part of the world you've never done Raw in before, then you've got to deliver. It's Glasgow, Scotland, folks. You got to live it up. They just didn't do it. And I think it was just a tremendously bad Raw. I felt dumber for having watched it. If any of you have any other redeeming things for Raw, please, by all means, let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought about Raw and SmackDown in the poll above and in the comments as well. I need to lie down. But anyway, be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, folks. Subscribe to Wrestling with Regret and buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. I'm Brian Zayn, and I'll see you next time.